Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unveiling Shadows. This is your voice from the beyond, the Ghost Scientist, where we dive into the complex and often controversial issues shaping our world today. We're tackling a topic that sparks intense debate: the global deep state. Is it a shadowy cabal pulling the strings of global events, or a misunderstood aspect of modern governance? Over the next 90 minutes, we'll explore what the global deep state might be, its alleged hidden agendas, and what this means for the future of humankind. So buckle up, because this is going to be a thought-provoking journey. Let's start by defining what we mean by the global deep state. The term deep state first emerged in the 1990s in Turkey, describing a clandestine network of military intelligence and organized crime elements influencing governmental policy outside democratic control. It gained traction during the Trump presidency with claims of unelected officials undermining elected leaders. But the global deep state takes this idea further, suggesting a supranatural network that transcends national borders. Scholar Peter Dale Scott, a former Canadian diplomat and professor, has been a key voice in this discussion. In his book, The American Deep State, he describes a network involving intelligence agencies like the Central Intelligence Agency and the U.S. National Security Agency, and private corporations, Wall Street bankers, and international oil companies, forming what he calls a supranational deep state. The American Deep State by Peter Dale Scott, this network, Scott argues, has grown stronger since World War II, sometimes opposing national policies and public interest. However, the concept is controversial. Critics include academics like Peter Knight and Mark Fenster. Label Scott's work is conspiratorial in nature, particularly his views on events like 9/11, yet even skeptics acknowledge that powerful institutions can exert undue influence, raising questions about where to draw the line between conspiracy and reality. Let's dive into one of the most cited examples of a global deep state in action: intelligence operations that cross national borders. A prime case is Operation Gladio, a Cold War era NATO and CIA initiative. Officially, Gladio was a stay-behind operation to prepare for potential Soviet invasion of Western Europe. Secret armies were set up in countries like Italy, Belgium, France, armed with hidden weapons caches. But here's where it gets murky. In 1990, Italian Prime Minister Giulio Andretti revealed Gladio's existence, and researchers have since linked it to false flag operations and right-wing terrorism aimed at discrediting leftist movements. For example, some allege Gladio was involved in attacks blamed on communists to sway public opinion. Similar operations reportedly existed across NATO countries, suggesting a coordinated effort beyond democratic oversight. Another example is the CIA's history of interventions in Latin America, such as the 1973 coup in Chile that installed Augusto Pinochet. These actions often served U.S. geopolitical interests, but they also aligned with corporate agendas, like protecting American business in the region. Could this be evidence of a supranational network prioritizing power over democracy? It's a question worth pondering. Next, let's look at a multinational corporation, often seen as key players in the global deep state. Take the oil industry, or Big Oil, as a case study. Companies like ExxonMobil have been shown to have known about the link between fossil fuels and climate change since the 1970s. Internal documents revealed that they predicted global warming impacts, yet publicly funded campaigns to sow doubt about climate science. A 2019 report found that major oil companies spent over $1 billion post-Paris Agreement on lobbying and branding to delay climate action. The Climate Denial Machine, the Climate Reality Project. This suggests a deliberate effort to prioritize profits over environmental and public welfare, influencing policies worldwide through lobbying and misinformation. Similarly, pharmaceutical companies have faced scrutiny for influencing health policies. For instance, during the opioid crisis, companies like Purdue Pharma aggressively marketed drugs while downplaying risks impacting public health policies and regulations. These examples highlight how corporate power can shape global outcome, often aligning with the interest of a select few. The financial sector, another pillar of the alleged global deep state, the 2008 financial crisis, is a stark example, triggered by risky practices in the subprime mortgage market. The crisis led to the collapse of major institutions like Lehman Brothers. The U.S. government responded with the $700 billion Troubled Asset Relief Program, or TARP, bailing out the banks and insurers like AIG, Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008. Critics argue that the bailout protected financial elites while ordinary citizens faced foreclosures and unemployment. The revolving door between Wall Street and government, exemplified by Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson, a former Goldman Sachs CEO, raises questions about the conflicts of interest. Only one executive faced jail time, fueling perceptions that the system favors the power elite. Globally, central banks and financial institutions wield immense influence. Their policies can dictate economic conditions worldwide, often prioritizing market stability over public welfare. This dynamic suggests a supranational financial network that shapes global economics, sometimes at odds with the democratic priorities. International organizations like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank are often cited as tools of the global deep state. Their structural adjustment programs, SAPs, provide loans to countries in economic distress, but require reforms like privatization and reduced public spending. Critics argue these policies increase poverty and dependence on rich nations. For example, SAPs in Africa countries during the 1980s and 1990s led to cuts in health and education, exacerbated social issues like the 2014 Ebola crisis. And what are the main criticisms of the World Bank and the IMF? Bretton Woods project. Some see these programs as serving the interest of Western financial elites and forcing neoliberal policies that benefit global markets over local population. This raises questions about whether such organizations prioritize global stability or the agenda of a powerful nation. The media, of course, plays a crucial role in shaping public perception, and its ownership can influence narratives. When a few corporations or individuals control major outlets, there's a risk of bias reflecting their interest. For instance, media conglomerates may frame stories to favor corporate or political allies, emitting perspective that challenge the status quo. Studies show that concentrated media ownership can lead to selective reporting and self-censorship, limiting diverse voices. Media ownership impact on news content. Yellow brick in the contents of global deep state media could be a tool to maintain power by controlling information and reinforcing narratives that align with the elite interests and suppressing dissent. So what exactly does this mean for the future? If a global deep state exists and pursues agendas prioritizing power and profit, we could see a world with growing inequity, eroded democracy, institutions, and ongoing conflicts driven by economic interest. The climate crisis, exacerbated by corporate lobbying, could worsen, threatening global stability. Yet there's hope. Increased public awareness driven by technology and access to information empowers individuals to challenge these dynamics. Grassroots movements, independent media, and international corporations on issues like climate change can counter undue influence. The future hinges on an ability to demand transparency, hold powerful entities accountable, and advocate for policies that prioritize the common good. We've journeyed through the murky waters of the global deep state, from intelligence operations to corporate influence, financial power, and media control. While some dismiss as a conspiracy, the evidence suggests that powerful networks do shape global events, often beyond public oversight. The challenge is distinguishing fact from fiction and taking action to ensure a fairer world. I want to thank you all for joining on our unraveled truths and unveiling the shadows that are today. Stay curious, question everything. Let's work together for a future that serves us all. Until next time, this is your voice from the beyond, the Ghost Scientist, and as always, good journey.